Hello, I'm Ja-Rek, and this is our first video from series of microservices. Today, the short subject, the API gateway. So, if we look to the book of Martin Fowler, we can find a pattern named gateway, which in general is described as an object that encapsulates access to any resources. You can also find similar patterns to gateway like raw data gateway, table data gateway, which is the same with data access object, which is just a service that encapsulates access to resources of SQL database. So if we will go further with the pattern similar to gateway, and we will look to book microservices patterns, we can find the API gateway, which is described uh, like a facade or microservices, like something that act like a security layer because we hide the microservice behind the abstraction of API gateway. We can use the API gateway to specify how our UI clients will talk to microservices, simplify it, how our customers use the API. We can also add to API gateway JW token. We can do an aggregation of two endpoints of our microservices, and so on and so on. I have noticed you that using just web API to create a API gateway is not a good idea because we have to struggle with writing actually the same controllers, writing the services that will call our microservices via REST. And also we have to use the same data structures which in the microservices, which we want to expose in API gateway. So we will have to use any module, any shared module that will contain that data transfer objects, which is just a data structures. What is not a good idea because we will do unnecessary job which can handle for us a framework like Ocelot. So let me introduce that framework. This solutions I prepared for the presentation is just a small microservice which uses a minimal API that act like a CRUD operations which use the fake data. This is just for purpose of our presentation. We don't have to do any logic. And this is the gateway API, which also, of course, use the Ocelot. This is the basic configuration of Ocelot. In the configuration, the crucial is add the JSON setting, which I call in this presentation Ocelot JSON. We have to add service of Ocelot and tell our app to use Ocelot. And let's look to the JSON that will configure the Ocelot. Here we have the upstream path template, which is the path which we expose in the API gateway. And the downstream is, of course, this what is on the down, so the microservices. Here we say that map each URL of microservices which use port 18 and host customer API to API and URL of the microservice or the address of microservice of the path. So let me show how it works. As I said, when we will access the endpoint of customer via API gateway, we will receive the fake data which I specify in the customer API. The same with the actions like with the methods like post, put, delete, and so on. So I encourage you to check the Ocelot and make your job much more easier.